Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Deputy Consul General Victorio Dimagiba Jr. of the Philippine Consulate General in Calgary. I will be your MC and moderator for this webinar entitled Briefing on the Philippines-Alberta MOU on the Recruitment of Nurses. Brought to you by the Philippine Consulate General in Calgary and in collaboration with the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in Vancouver. We are very happy that as of now, we have over 246 attendees to this Zoom webinar from all over the world, not only from Alberta, but also from the Philippines and some from the Middle East. Aside from our colleagues from the Philippine Consulate General in Calgary and from the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in Vancouver, we are also joined by our colleagues from the OWA Vancouver office. Before we begin, some housekeeping rules. Please remain muted during the duration of this webinar. Questions are welcome to be raised on the Zoom chat box, and which will be read during the question and answer portion later in this webinar. When writing your question, please identify to whom the question should be addressed. Now to begin, may we first call Consul General Zaldi B. Patron of the Philippine Consulate General in Calgary to deliver his presentation on this landmark MOU. Consul General Patron, the virtual floor is yours.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Magandang hapon, magandang umaga. Salamat Deputy Consul General Vic for the introduction. Welcome po sa inyo dito sa ating virtual platform para sa ating online briefing on the MOU between the Philippines and Alberta. And I would like also to welcome my colleague, my co-presenter, Labor Attaché June Rasul. No? So we thought of this online briefing because we received a lot of queries sa email po namin, sa Facebook page ng Philippine Consulate General about this MOU on the recruitment of Filipino nurses. So we thought of coming up with this online briefing para po ma-inform kayo ano po ba ang sinasabi ng MOU na yon, ano yung mga provisions, ano ang status, at what are the things that we need to do. Okay, so Labor Attaché June Rasul and I will be giving a presentation. This is just an introduction. Ngayon pa lang po, in-heads up ko na kayo na may mga series of steps pa po na dadaanan at itong MOU na to before its full implementation. So let me begin with my slide. Vice Consul Steph, please. So backgrounder lang po muna. Ano po ba itong MOU na to? It is a project actually under a bigger umbrella project na Credentials Recognition in Canada project, which is a joint project of the Philippine Embassy in Ottawa and the Philippine Consulates General in Calgary, Vancouver, and Toronto. No? It was former Ambassador Rodolfo Robles who initiated this, and he rallied all of us to advocate for the easier recognition of credentials of the Filipino nurses. Why? Because we know that here in Canada, there are many registered nurses in the Philippines who are here but are not practicing as registered nurses or even LPN. No? You find yourselves in different types of job because there are barriers to your practicing of your nursing profession. No? One, you have to undergo the accreditation process. Maraming pagdadaanan kayong mga agencies and organizations like the National Nursing Assessment Service. And then dito sa Alberta, the College of Registered Nurses of Alberta. And then you will be asked to undergo the nursing bridging program. And then there is a high cost of paying the fees for the credentialing process as well as the nursing bridging program. So all of us in the Philippine Embassy in Ottawa, the Consulates General, did our own advocacies with the provincial government, because here in Canada, education is under the mandate of the provincial government. So, meron po kaming mga draft template na MOUs that we propose to the various provincial governments. So, that is the same template that we proposed to Alberta. Alberta went back to us with its counter proposal until we reach the agreement, the provisions of which I will explain later. And we, in the process of negotiating for this agreement, we also met with the various government agencies. No? Here in Alberta, for example, I met with the Labor Minister for Labor and Immigration Ministers. No? At nakatatlo po sila during the time that I've been negotiating for this agreement. No? And then I also met with the Minister for Health, at nakadalawa po silang Minister of Health. And then the Advanced Education Minister. And ultimately, I had 2 meetings with the Premier Jason Kenney, no, the former Premier po, who just stepped down. October 6, now new Premier was announced, and then yesterday a new Premier took over. And then we also met with the academic institutions like Mount Royal University, and then with the regulatory body like the College of Registered Nurses of Alberta. And then in the Philippines, we also met with the Commission on Higher Education, of course, the Department of Migrant Workers that is leading this that signed this MOU for the Philippines, and also the Department of Foreign Affairs. Okay, next slide, please. So the MOU on the recruitment of Filipino nurses was signed on October 6, 2022. No? Here in Alberta, it was held in Mount Royal University during a press conference wherein the Alberta government announced its new program for the internationally educated nurses. No? And it highlighted the MOU that it finalized and agreed with the Philippines. So Premier Jason Kenney at the time signed that MOU. Now, correspondingly, on the Philippine side, the signatory was Steph, I'm echoing. Hello? So on the Philippine side, the signatory was the Undersecretary in the Department of Migrant Workers, the Honorable Patricia Yvonne Kaunan, who signed the agreement in Frankfurt, Germany, because she was there on October 6. Next slide, please. So these are the implementing agencies on the Philippine side. It is the Department of Migrant Workers. In the Alberta side, the Ministries of Labor and Immigration, Health, and Advanced Education. The negotiations was led by our office and also the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in Vancouver, which has jurisdiction over Alberta. Next slide, please. So if you will go to the website of the Alberta government, you will see this. Quick facts about the Philippines-Alberta MOU. Which has these provisions, which I'm going to discuss in details. Papaliwanag ko po later on kung ano ang mga sinasaad na mga provisions na yan. So, 1, access to help navigating complex regulatory systems. 2nd, streamlined assessment and licensing program. 3rd, greater access to bridging seats and clinical placements. 4th, a bursary program to help with costs associated with credentialing in Alberta. Next is the options for further partnerships, including the potential to establish an Alberta accredited nursing program in the Philippines. Next is clarifying process for the recruitment and selection of nurses from the Philippines. And lastly, a joint committee to monitor progress on MOU. Next slide, please. So isa-isahin po natin ito. Anong ibig sabihin nila when they said na access to help navigating complex regulatory systems? Alberta government will come up with a nurse navigator platform. So it will be an online resource where you will find all the information you need sa pag-undergo ng credentialing, registration, and licensure requirements, no? And then, it will also contain the information para sa immigration pathways ninyo. Ano ang option ninyo to come here, whether you are a temporary foreign worker or eligible ba kayo sa Alberta Advantage Nomination Program. And it will also contain information about the current job market and available opportunities for nurses, no? So, magkakaroon ng mga tinatawag nila na nurse navigator. So, these are real persons na eventually makakausap ninyo or makaka-email ninyo and who will guide you how to go through the process, no? Right now, if you would like to have your documents or your licenses, your transcript of record evaluated and assessed, kayo ang magsasubmit nito sa National Nursing Assessment Service. And you will have to pay NNAS, no? It's about $3,000 to $4,000. Now, after ma-evaluate ng NNAS ang inyong document, isasubmit niya ang kanyang assessment sa College of Registered Nurses of Alberta or CRNA. Diba? CRNA will ask you to take the exam called RNAP. So RNAP, kuhanin niyo yun, but you will have to pay $1,900. Okay? And based doon sa inyong assessment tsaka sa result ng inyong RNAP, then they will tell you kung ano ang courses na kukuha ninyo sa nursing bridging program. Okay? A full nursing bridging program in Mount Royal University in Calgary, which is the only university in Alberta that offers a full nursing program, has 10 courses. No? And probably you will be, ang cost ng full nursing bridging program is about $10,000. No? And it will take you about 1 year to 1.5 years to finish that nursing bridging program, assuming walang delay on your part. So ito yung mga information na i-contain doon sa Nurse Navigator platform, no? Of course, siyempre mas maraming details, no? Ngayon, as it is right now, kanya-kanya kayo ng research. You will contact the NNAS, you will contact CRNA, you will contact also the MRU. With this Nurse Navigator platform, magiging one-stop shop yung information na makikita ninyo. Diba? So, nandun na agad siya. Sa ngayon, walang ganyang site. So, i-develop nila itong Nurse Navigator platform na to. And sabi nga nila, they will be hiring nurse navigators na mag-a-assist, no? Sa mga mag-i-inquire how to go the credentialing process here in Alberta. And Alberta government has allocated $500,000 for the development of this nurse navigator platform and the hiring of the nurse navigators. Ang second na key point is the streamlining of assessment and licensing program. So Alberta will work with regulatory colleges to streamline the assessment and licenses. So na-mention ko na yung NNAS kanina at saka yung CRNA. Yun yung dalawang bodies na in charge doon sa assessment at saka sa pag-issue ng license, no? So, Alberta is willing to talk to them and explore with them how else we can streamline the process, no? Para maging easier para sa mga Filipino nurses yung submission ng kanilang mga documents, no? Ano ang example ng streamlining? Pwede ba, limbawa, ang NNAS natin o nila dito sa Canada can have an agreement with our Philippine Regulatory Commission na mag-a-allow sa kanila na mag-exchange na lang ng mag-submit ng documents ang isang applicant na Filipino IEN, i-authorize lang niya ang NNAS para sabihan sa PRC na i-submit na lang sa amin ang inyong document directly because we have this authorization from the Filipino nurse applicant, no? So hindi na kayo pupunta sa PRC, no? But that will require an agreement between an NNAS and the PRC. But I'm citing that as a potential example of streamlining the licensing and assessment process. Next slide, please. Then greater access to bridging seats and clinical placements. No? Right now, ang MRU can only offer 120 seats for its nursing bridging program. And the waiting time is 4 years. So if you apply now, 2022, you got admitted, hindi ibig sabihin next semester makakapag-aral na kayo ng nursing bridging program. You will have to wait for 4 years, no? So 2026 bago pa kayo ma-admit. And doon sa press conference, may nagbigay ng testimonial, nag-apply siya ng 2017, she got accepted in MRU ng 2022. Why? Because there was a lack of funding, no, on the part of the Alberta government and on the part of the recipient, the MRU. So kulang ang funding, kulang yung pwedeng ma-hire na faculty ng MRU, kulang din yung pwede niyang ma-admit na students sa nursing bridging program. Kaya mahaba ang waiting time. So nag-announce na ang Alberta Ministry of Advanced Education na dadamihan nila, dadagdag sila ng seats para sa nursing bridging program beginning January 2023. And this was an outcome of our advocacy, no? Kasi tayo ang nag-propose sa Alberta government na expand nila, no, yung kanilang nursing bridging program, no, para maka-accommodate ng Filipino IENs. Pero pag in-expand nila yan, hindi ibig sabihin yan Filipino IENs lang ang kanilang i-admit, no? Mag-admit din sila ng other IENs, no, in Alberta. The bursary program, no? So when I met with the Premier Kenny and the other ministers, I specifically mentioned to them to consider offering financial assistance for our Filipino IENs because ang Manitoba at saka ang British Columbia had come up with their own. And so I recommended to them, why can't Alberta do the same? And so yung recommendation natin was accepted, no? And as a result of that, nag-announce no October 6 na ang Alberta government will be allocating $3.5 million as initial funding to support the IENs in Alberta. That will be equivalent to about $15,500 per IEN, no? So long as you will qualify at eligible kayo doon sa kanilang program, no? Siyempre magse-set sila ng requirements, diba? Mayroong application process and procedure, merong mga criteria, diba? But the thing is, kung ma-meet nyo yung kanilang mga requirements, then potentially you can get as much as $15,500 na po pwede nyong gamitin to pay for the assessment fee sa NNAS or sa testing fee sa RNAP or even sa nursing bridging program sa MRU if you are already here in Alberta. But as I mentioned, bagong sign pa lang po ang MOU, wala pa po tayong guidelines exactly on the bursary program. But we heard it, no, from the Premier himself, from the Advanced Education Minister himself, that this is already a program of the Alberta government. Next slide, please. Then eto, merong options for further partnerships, including the potential to establish an Alberta accredited nursing programs in the Philippines. This was our third proposal to the Alberta government, no? So when I talked to the Premier and the other ministers, I made a case. I told them that the Philippines has a world-class nursing program as evidenced by our world-class nurses who are much in demand or sought after in many countries, di ba? So that was the case that I made to them, no? And one time nagpunta dito ang Commission Higher Education. There was a delegation headed by Commissioner Aldrin Darilag. In June, I arranged a meeting between our Commission Higher Education and the Premier himself and the Advanced Education Minister. And our Commission Higher Education expressed openness and readiness to discuss this potential project with Alberta, no? So mamimili, magkakaroon ng selection process to identify ano ba ang university sa Pilipinas that has the capability to deliver the nursing bridging program ng Alberta sa Pilipinas. This will benefit our Filipino nurses in the Philippines who are considering to come to Alberta to join their family members or simply to work, no? So meaning before they even come here in Alberta, they can already take these nursing bridging courses in the Philippines, which will make it more affordable and accessible for them. So pagdating nila dito sa Alberta, siguro kukuhanin lang nila practicum, di ba? And then mag-take na lang din sila ng NCLEX. So we are shortening the process for our Filipino IENs, no? So again, it will make their life easier to be able to practice here as a nurse. But this is a technical matter, di ba? Kasi kailangan mag-usap yung Ministry of Advanced Education nila, MRU nila, on the side of Alberta, on the side of the Philippines, our Commission Higher Education, at saka whoever is the interested Philippine University, no? Kailangan mag-agree sila on the design of the nursing bridging program that will be offered in the Philippines. Wala pa po ito as of now. But the MOU is already saying that Alberta is willing to explore this partnership with the Philippines. And then another key point is yung recruitment nga ng Filipino nurses from the Philippines on a government-to-government recruitment arrangement. Now, I will defer to my colleague, Labor Attaché General Rasul, to explain this to you in more details after me. Another key provision ng MOU is the establishment of the joint committee, no, to develop a detailed work plan, no. So may joint committee po na composed ng Alberta representatives at Philippine representatives. Mag-uusap pa po yan, no. Ngayon hindi pa po nakakapag-meet o nako-convene. Ito yung joint committee. And for some of you na nagmo-monitor ng political developments dito sa Alberta, you must have heard na yesterday nag-swear in ang bagong premier dito, si Premier Daniel Smith, no? And then she announced that she would only name her new cabinet on October 21. So, what does it mean? It means na magkakaroon po ng bagong Labor and Immigration Minister, bagong Advanced Education Minister, at bagong Health Minister ang Alberta. Now, task ko po to reach out to them, to set up a meeting with the new premier, with the new ministers, for me to discuss with them this MOU and its implementation. So these are the next steps that we are going to do. No? So yun po ang snapshot ng MOU on the aspects of the delivery of the nursing bridging program in the Philippines, yung availability of financial assistance, no po? At saka po yung streamlining ng licensing and accreditation process. Now, I would like to turn over the floor to my colleague, Labor Attaché General Rasul. Before I do that, ang advice ko lang po sa inyong lahat is to keep on following us sa aming pong Facebook page at saka sa aming website. Because if we will learn new developments about the implementation of this MOU, whether from the Alberta government side or from the Philippine side, then we will share that information on our Facebook page. Salamat po, and now Labor Attaché June, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Consul General Zaldi Patron. Our very energetic conjan dito po sa Calgary. Before I proceed with my part of the briefing, let me thank and congratulate everyone for this very important MOU, which was described by former Alberta Premier Jason Kenney as difference maker. To a certain extent, yes, it would be one if this MOU is implemented. I hope it will be. It would also be a game changer, so to speak, as this is the first of its kind in Canada, and it will give a opportunity for all our Filipino nurses kababayan to come and work in Alberta. Let me also thank and congratulate DMW Secretary Susan Toots Ople, as this is the first MOU under the new Department of Migrant Workers department, yeah, and USEC Patricia Yvonne Kaunan, who signed the MOU and who followed up closely the signing and release of the approval for her to sign this MOU in Frankfurt, Germany. Also to former Ambassador Rodolfo Robles and now CDA Noel Fernandez for spearheading the CRC project, as mentioned by Conjen Zaldi, for lobbying all the government offices here to recognize our Filipino nurses. Now, for the briefing part, let me just go with this briefly, and kasi na-mention na po some part of this with by Conjen Zaldi. Next slide, please. Hello, next slide. Okay, here. What are the challenges currently being faced by Filipino registered nurses who want to work in Canada? As you will know, pahirapan po ang pagrehistro ng Filipino nurses dito sa Canada. Lahat ng probinsya may college of nurses, ano sila, kanya-kanyang probinsya, kanya-kanyang patakaran. But unlike other countries, dalawang track po ang sinusunod dito. If you will apply from outside, you will have to, apply online sa NNAS, and then you will submit all your credentials, etc., etc. And then after that, once you're given advisory report, you will go to the respective province where you want to apply and work. Kung gusto niyo sa British Columbia or Alberta or Ontario, you have to again submit your requirements there. So these are the difficulties, and in most cases hindi po na-approve ang application right away kasi hindi eligible, hindi comparable ang credentials, at required mag-aral, mag-enroll sa bridging program ng ating mga kababayan. So this is the situation leading to this MOU, and that's why the process, the whole process posed significant financial barriers also to our Filipino nurses. It's very expensive, very costly, and while they are here, they are also working. So naisip namin ni Conjen Zaldi na we'll propose that aside from coming in with paid employment, with jobs right away related to medical field, they will also be given opportunity to study, to enroll in this bridging program para at the same time, related yung field ng field work. Because currently, if you come to Canada, if you're a nurse in the Philippines, you come to Canada as a caregiver, you are not allowed to study or enroll in an educational institution. You cannot even apply or work, enroll in a bridging program. So, saan ka kukuha ng pera for you to pay for the cost of the bridging program? Napakamahal po ang bridging program. So, yun ang in-explain ni Conjen, the reason why we lobbied for this. Next slide, please. So this is the objective of the Philippine-Alberta MOU. We are saying that it will strengthen the bilateral relations between the Philippines and Alberta. It will also help Alberta address its concerns on healthcare workforce, meaning may shortage po sila. But most importantly, this will support the Filipino nurses to practice their nursing profession, remove barriers to credential recognition, and facilitate the registration and licensing process. Next slide, please. Ano pong salient features itong Alberta MOU on the hiring of Filipino nurses? As explained, the Filipino nurse applicants will be initially employed by health employers in Alberta. So if they want to come here, they're approved, they will be working with an employer, health employer ang tawag nila dito, meaning it can be a clinic or a hospital, where they will be working in a unregulated position like healthcare assistant or what, but not as nurse yet, because while working, they will be given access to bridging program. So more seats will be given to bridging programs and clinical placements. And then this will be uh, taken care of by Alberta government, including the financial assistance. Next slide, please. So what are the specific steps being taken by Alberta under this MOU to support Filipino nurses? Number one, to provide Nurse Navigator online platform. Our Consul General Zaldi Patron recommended during our last negotiation that if possible, a Filipino nurse, registered nurse here in Alberta will be designated as the nurse navigator because pag Filipino po, mas madali kausap, makapag-guide sa mga Filipino applicants to go on through the process. And then, as explained, the Alberta government will extend financial incentives to help defray the cost. This will be like 50,500 Canadian dollars. They will work with the colleges, meaning the College of Alberta for registered nurses, to shorten the assessment and licensing process. And also, eventually, they will explore the possibility of establishing an Alberta accredited nursing program in the Philippines. Next po. So, kailan po magte-take effect itong MOU? Well, in a negotiation like MOU, after the signing po, there will be a ratification, meaning the signed documents, the MOU copy signed by Alberta and the Philippines will be submitted to the Office of the President through the Department of Foreign Affairs. So, it takes some time, maybe a month or two, bago po ilabas o mapirmahan ng ating presidente ang instrument of ratification, which will then be forwarded to Alberta. Alberta also will do the same process. So, kapag meron na pong instrument of ratification, notified to the other party, meaning to Alberta, magta-take effect na po yung MOU. Then we can start already convening the joint committee to start talking about the details of implementation. Next slide po, DCB. So we'll have to, when we'll start applying to work as Filipino nurse, we'll have to wait for the implementation of the MOU after the joint committee shall have been convened to discuss and agree on the details of implementation. We would advise you closely to monitor and check announcements from, number one, Alberta government website, especially this Nurse Navigator online platform. Alberta government is allocating $500,000 for this platform, as mentioned by Premier Jason Kenney in his last speech. Also, you have to monitor POA and Department of Migrant Workers advisory on the recruitment and selection of Filipino nurse applicants to Alberta. Next slide po. What will be the possible steps and procedures in the hiring process? So ano pong posibleng proseso? Okay, subject to the implementing guidelines, the submission of applications shall commence as soon as the job offer has been sent to PUA from specific health employers in Alberta. So, magpapadala po ang Alberta employers, ipapadala sa PUA yung job offer, ilan, possibly through a centralized body, ilan ang kailangan nilang Filipino nurses, ano ang criteria, qualifications needed, or special field or training required. So, malalaman po yung quantity, yung number, yung so on and so forth. So, the job offer shall indicate the number of nurses and yun nga, pati IELTS results, they should be part of the requirements. Also, the POA will then advertise na po. Remember, this MOU between the Philippines and Alberta is a G2G, government to government agreement, meaning the POE or DMW will do the sourcing out of candidates, will do the recruitment, and not through a private recruitment agency. Next slide po. So, dalawa po ang na-mention sa MOU, ang maaring ang routes or pathways na pupuntahan ng mga Filipino nurse applicants, whether through yung temporary foreign workers program nila na siyang may shortage, merong dadaan sa LMIA or Labor Market Impact Assessment, or yung tinatawag nilang AAIP, Alberta Advantage Immigration Program. Ito po yung parang petition for immigration na through by means of a certificate of nomination. In both ways, kailangan po ng work permit yan. So whether you're under temporary foreign workers, still that will also is considered a pathway to residency upon or after finishing 2 to 3 years of work in Alberta. Next slide po. Who may apply to become a registered nurse in Alberta. So, lahat po ng Filipino registered nurses, if they're interested to come and work in Alberta, they are welcome. But those in the Philippines and in other countries, they can submit their application through the POA. And then the other, those already here in Canada, working and living here, they can apply directly to the body concerned, to this nurse navigator program. Yeah. Next. So yun lang po. That concludes my presentation. Back to you, Conjen.
Thank you very much, Conjen Zaldi and Labat June. Very informative po ang binigay po ng ating dalawang distinguished speakers this evening. Now, we can jump directly to the question and answer, and there have been several questions and several comments dito sa ating chat box. So I will throw the first question to both Conjen and to Labat. So this is come from Ms. Sistine Grace Layos Tabanao. So we still need the IELTS or the CELBAN exam. Can we ask help for financial assistance starting from the NNAS stage? And where can we check and the Nurse Navigator program?
Thank you, DCG Vic. No? As I mentioned po, yung Nurse Navigator platform is still being developed. So, wala pa po kayo makikita na Nurse Navigator platform. Ngayon, doon sa financial, yung IELTS tsaka CELBAN, kung anong pong requirements, ito pong MOU na yun, MOU natin with Alberta doesn't mean na exempted po ang Filipino nurses from the credentialing process and requirements, no? Ang sinasabi po dito, meron pong support na maibibigay sa inyo. Kasi po as it is right now, kung kayo po ay magpapa-assess, kung kayo mag-aaral sa nursing bridging program, you have to pay it on your own. Ngayon po, nag-o-offer si Alberta government ng bursary program, financial assistance. Yun po ay upon our recommendation. So kung makakakuha po kayo, makakatanggap po kayo, assuming na finalize na po nila yung guidelines, mailabas na po nila, meron na po tayong processing guidelines na po, at makakomply kayo at ma-approve kayo, then po pwede po kayo makareceive ng $15,500 that you can pay sa NNAS. No? So babayad kayo doon ng assessment fee, pwede nyo pong gamitin yung 15,500. Kung may sobra pa, gamitin nyo sa RNAP, pambayad ng testing fee ng RNAP, and then kung may sobra pa sa nursing bridging program, o kung gusto nyo naman, doon nyo lang gagamitin sa nursing bridging program. So it's really up to you how you're going to spend that financial assistance that the Alberta government will be providing. No? Pero nung wala pong proposals ang Philippines, hindi po yan naisip ng Alberta government, no? So they were forced to rethink their policy and their program for the internationally educated nurses because of the proposals submitted by the Philippine government.
Thank you, Conjen. Another question for you, sir, from this time from Miss Mary Ann E. How will this MOU help Filipino RNs already in Alberta but have a registration in the CNO or in Ontario to transfer their license to Alberta without having to work in Ontario to gain the 1,125 hours?
Thank you, DCG, and thank you po sa nagtanong. Hindi po yan covered ng MOU. So, kung meron po kayong request for transferring ng accreditation, you will have to work it out with the CRNA.
Thank you, Conjen. So actually, some of these are not questions, but more comments, po, sir. And some of them do deal with the English requirements, especially the CELBAN. One of the our listeners this evening, si Ms. Christine May Biagtan, mentioned that our medium instruction back home is English, and we are required to pass the CELBAN. A lot of RNs in the Philippines are here working in a healthcare setting for quite some time. One of the requirements is meeting the required score of the CELBAN. So in Ontario, for example, if you have been working for at least 2 years or more, it can be waived. If you pass the NCLEX, which consists of 145 questions and is in English, then that means that those who pass can comprehend English. I understand that it's for public safety, but this should be addressed as well. Yes, sir.
Thank you, DCG. I suggest po, paki-email po sa amin yan kasi meron po kayong mga sinasite na experience ng ibang province in terms of accepting, no, yung yung experience ba nila that will be given points pag-assess ng kanilang English proficiency. Paki-email po sa amin so that we can discuss this at the joint committee meeting, no? Kasi para pong katulad yan ng nag-announce po ang Manitoba at saka ang British Columbia ng kanilang bursary program. And then we mentioned it to the Alberta government. And then they did their research and nag-compare po sila ng notes and na-open po yung mind nila and then nag-come up din po sila ng sarili nilang nurse bursary program o financial assistance program because we cited it to them. So we can probably cite this sa joint committee meeting and we'll see kung i-accept po nila. But di po kami makakapangako sa inyo as of this time. But we will welcome any suggestions po and this goes for everyone po, no, na especially yung mga nurses po na narito na sa Alberta. Please feel free to send your suggestions to us via email. Po. At kung meron pong opportunity na ma-erase namin sila, then i-erase po namin. Salamat po.
Thank you, Conjen. Here is another question from Mr. Kent Maruya. He suggests to the PCG and to Polo to work closely with someone or a group of nurses there in Canada in drafting the guidelines of the MOU.
Yung MOU po, tapos na po yun, di ba? At yan po ay pinag-aralan, may mga experts po tayo, specialists coming from Department of Migrant Workers. So nandun na po tayo sa implementation. Okay? So halimbawa po, paano ang Nurse Navigator Program? Paano nila yan i-implement? Meron, nabanggit nga po ni Labat June na I already proposed to them na meron po ditong mga Filipino nurses. And in fact, meron po ditong bagong tayo na Filipino-Canadian Nurses Association dito po sa Calgary, no? And it was the PCG that encouraged the Filipino nurses here to form their own association. At nirecommend po natin, so po sa recommendation natin, kapag po mag-hire na kayo ng nurse navigators, you may want to consider, and we are recommending, that you hire Filipino nurses kasi it will be easier for a fellow Filipino to guide another fellow Filipino nurse. Na po. So that's one. Ngayon, yung bursary program, paano magka-come up ng guidelines? Discretion po yun ng Alberta government. No po. Kung tatanungin po nila kami, then we will give our inputs. Pero it's their own money. Just like, hindi po namin, wala po kaming input as to how much they should come up, no, in terms of the financial assistance program. It was them, kasi depende po yan sa budget po nila, sa available budget nila. It was them that came up with the figure na $3.5 million at saka po yung as much as $15,500 for individual IEN. Salamat po.
Thank you, Conjen. Another question, sir, from Ms. Dorothy Tionco. Paano po yung mga Filipino nurses not working as a nurse who have been living here in Alberta for more than 5 years, but are required by NNAS to have not a nursing experience not more than 5 years ago?
Labat June, do you have input there?
Well, so far that's the requirement of NNAS. We can probably during the joint committee meeting talk about this congen and probably ask for extra consideration to allow those who have been here for more than 5 years already to renew their clinical experience. You know, the rule of 5 years is actually about their clinical experience, you know, whether or not they're still updated with the new regulations, new procedures, medicines, and so on and so forth. So this is also for public safety, but that is precisely the reason for requiring the bridging program is, you know, and clinical placement para ma-update po yung mga nurses natin. We've been here for more than 5 years already, and with no experience or anymore no clinical experience anymore. So nakakatakot naman magtrabaho sila agad-agad without refreshing their skills, you know. So that's why that's the purpose of bridging program and clinical placement training. So we hope we can accommodate Filipinos who have been here for more than 5 years and still wanting to practice their nursing profession. Yes.
Thank you, Labat, and thank you, Conjen. Another question, a combined question actually from with regards to the bridging program. What does the new MOU mean for those who have actually already still beginning to wait for their bridging program in MOU, considering that based on what they are been reading, na mag-open ng more slots or seats starting January 2023.
Okay. Thank you, DCGB. Ang ibig sabihin po niyan, baka po yung 4 years na waiting time, cut short. Baka po maging 2 years na lang. No? So I do not know kung kailan po kayo nag-submit na yung application to attend the nursing bridging program. No? So yun po yun, dadami yung seats. No? Ngayon, by the time na baka eligible kayo at kung nandyan na yung financial assistance program, kung meron na pong definite na guidelines, pwede na rin po kayo mag-apply ng financial assistance. So sa halip na kayo on your own ang babayad ng total fees for the nursing bridging program, makaka-avail na po kayo nitong financial assistance from the Alberta government.
Thank you very much, Conjen. Actually, quite a lot of comments and questions are pouring in, but mostly all of the same questions with regards to the bridging program and whether or not if they are Filipino nurses who are currently practicing in the Philippines, how will they in particular be able to benefit if they do not have any clinical experience so far?
Well, kaya po merong assessment yung NNAS. Lahat po ng nurses na internationally educated, bago sila makapag-practice po dito, i-evaluate po ng NNAS yung kanilang credentials. So makikita po doon kung meron kayong practice o wala. Tapos ano yung curriculum na kinuha ninyo, whether that matches the subjects here in Canada. So it will depend on the assessment of the NNAS. Tapos later on mga po, ibibigay yan sa mga provincial regulatory body. In the case of Alberta, it is CRNA. So, and then meron pa pong test dito, yung tinatawag nila na RNAP. Ano po. So, yun po yung proseso. hindi po natin sinasabi na dahil may MOU, exempted ang Filipino nurses from those process, no? Or processes and requirements. Ang MOU po, ang pinoprovide po nito is the assistance, no? At yung nursing bridging program po, kung eventually ma-offer po natin yan sa Philippines, we would like sana to shorten it, no? To compress it. So halimbawa po, if we are able to convince them na indeed we have a world-class nursing program that is aligned with their nursing program in Canada, baka po yung 10 subjects sa full nursing bridging program, dahil na kumbinsido po sila na ang nursing program ng Pilipinas is comparable to their nursing program at world class, baka po pwedeng i-compress yung 10, magiging 6 na lang. No, wala pong definite number dyan because it's a technical matter, no? Kaya nga po kailangan mag-meeting yung advanced education officials nila at saka yung ating Commission Higher Education officials para makapag-reach ng agreement on how to conduct the nursing bridging program in the Philippines. Kung masyo-shorten po natin yan para sa mga Filipino nurses, malaking bagay po yan para sa mga Filipino nurses who are planning to come here in Alberta. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Conjen. I take note that it's 7:02. Would you and Labat still accommodate a couple more questions?
I'm okay, yeah, June, no? So siguro we can extend until 7:10,
Okay.
7:15.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Conjen and Labat. Another common question that is being asked is if they have started already the NNES process, would they be able to benefit from the financial assistance?
Thank you, DCG Vic. Opo, kung ready na po yung guidelines. Kasi sabi ko nga po, yung 15,500, you can spend it whether sa assessment stage, sa licensing stage, or sa nursing bridging program. So kung lumabas po ang assessment nyo sa NNAS, papasa pa po yan sa CRNA. Tapos mag-ARNA pa po kayo. And then i-assess po kung kailangan nyo ba ng nursing bridging program, ilang subjects, di ba? So by the time na umabot kayo sa ganung stage at kung meron na po na financial assistance at makapagsabit kayo ng application at ma-approve kayo, pwede nyo po yung gamitin sa later stage po ng inyong nursing bridging program.
Thank you, Conjen. A follow-up question from Ms. Dorothy. As much as we would like to work here as a nurse, but we are just limited to work in nursing homes or as caregivers only, and for some as LPN, and some are going to the US for the nursing experience and passing the NCLEX. Will they be considered to become a registered nurse here in Alberta under the MOU, or should we take the bridging education still?
Kailangan din po ang nursing bridging program. Opo. Kasi nga po, iba po ang standard ng education dito sa Canada. Alam naman po natin, sa Pilipinas, pag nurse ka, nakapasa ka ng NCLEX, pwede kayo magtrabaho sa US, di ba? May-issue kayo ng working visa. Unfortunately, that is not the case here. And even the Americans, kung nurse po sila sa US, American citizen sila, pagdating po dito sa Canada, magna-nursing bridging program din po sila. So hindi po ito sa Filipino nurses lang ina-apply. This applies to all internationally educated nurses who would like to come here to Canada and work as registered nurses.
Siguro, sir, this is a comment more or a suggestion because I would understand this is something that will be still discussed. Will they, from Ms. Joanna Balbanero, will they also follow Ontario's step in integrating IENs with expired safe practice in paid supervision trainings? This is one of the biggest barriers for IENs here in Alberta.
Apa. Hindi po yan covered ng MOU. So, again, email nyo po sa amin, then i-raise po namin sa meeting po namin sa joint committee. Salamat po.
Thank you, sir. And I am a registered nurse from Ms. Marigold Soriano Romero here in the Philippines. Do I need to go straight to the POA to apply to be a nurse? If so, when will be available pa sa POA para sa makapag-apply? Siguro si Labat can be able to explain further. Sorry.
Yeah, as we have mentioned in our presentation, we still have to wait for the specifics, the mechanics, and that is after that we have already convened the joint committee between the two sides. We'll discuss the mechanics on how the employers will proceed to submit their job offer or employment offer, the number of nurses they would need, the qualifications, the criteria. So we'll know the steps and procedure. After that, then POA will make the proper announcements. They will be responsible for sourcing out as many candidates as possible. They will screen and evaluate their qualifications, their clinical experience, etc., etc. And then the employers in Alberta will make the final selection po. Of course, in the process, the POA can set up a meeting, interview online, and so on and so forth. So all these things will be fleshed out as soon as we will know uh, the progress of the implementation with the Alberta government. Right now, they're also finalizing the guidelines on the bursary, the navigator. They haven't set it up yet. So maybe it takes, antayin po natin ng couple of months, maybe two months, I hope, Conjen, maybe 2 to 3 months. We will make the proper announcements at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Labat. So I hate to put you on the spot, Labat. But Tiatan, may nag-follow up ng question. So what is the time frame for this?
Kasi wala pa pong time frame. I cannot really say 2 months, 3 months, baka may konting delay. But may good news na po tayo. I mean, this is positive already. And we are just waiting for further developments para po maayos ang implementation. And soon, very soon po, hopefully.
Okay. Will there be a priority for Canadian taxpayers?
Well, Canadian taxpayers po, ibig sabihin narito kayo sa Canada, wala, yung MOU po is for international educated nurses, no? Gusto ko lang linawin po ito. Hindi po ito para sa isang Canadian citizen or PR na dito po tapos ng nursing. Kasi meron naman pong ibang set of support na ma-avail sila under the federal government, under the provincial government. Ito pong MOU na to ay nakafocus no sa internationally educated nurses who are coming here, kailangan undergo ng credentialing licensing process, kailangan mag-nursing bridging program. Sila po yung sinusuportahan nitong MOU na to. At ito naman po is also in line with the objective of the Alberta government to also reinforce its healthcare system. Kaya po nagka-align yung interest natin na tulungan natin yung mga Filipino IENs, sila naman po, para naman po recruit sila ng mas maraming nurses that will work sa kanilang healthcare sector.
Thank you very much, Conjen. I note now it is 7:10 and I think and we thank everybody for the many comments and suggestions and questions that were raised in this very informative webinar that we have held. And I would like to give back the floor to Consul General Zaudi Patron to make his concluding remarks to our audience tonight.
Yeah.
Sir?
Thank you, DCG Vic. Unang-una po gusto ko magpasalamat sa lahat po ng nag-spend ng oras, ng panahon para po mag-join dito sa ating online briefing. Sana po marami po kayong nalinawan dito po sa aming briefing. At gusto ko po magpasalamat sa aking co-presenter, Labor Attaché po natin sa Vancouver, si Labor Attaché Jainal Rasul. At I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Secretary Susan Ople of the Department of Migrant Workers for agreeing on behalf of the Philippine government for us to have this agreement with the government of Alberta, and also to Undersecretary Patricia Ibon Kaunan, who signed this agreement on behalf of the Department of Migrant Workers, and also to our former Ambassador Rodolfo Robles for initiating this project when he was still here, and to our currently CDA, Noel Fernandez, who ably assisted our former ambassador in shepherding this project. And then also the Department of Foreign Affairs at saka po ang Office of the President. Kasi po kami po yung nagtulong-tulong para po at the last minute, photo finish po, on the last day of the term of office of the former Premier Jason Kenney, this MOU was signed. So marami pong mga meetings, negotiations, behind the scenes na nangyari at the very last minute po. Kaya po we are so happy na na-conclude po natin itong MOU na to. This is the first that the Philippine government has signed with the Canadian province. So we are now po on the implementation stage. The first hurdle has been overcome, having that MOU. Dahil ito pong MOU na to ang magbibigay ng legal basis for the Alberta government to release that financial assistance, that funding for the Filipino IENs. Ito po yung legal basis para mag-discuss po tayo ng delivery of the nursing bridging program in the Philippines. And of course, to recruit Filipino nurses from the Philippines through a government-to-government arrangement. So sana po tulungan niyo po kami na mai-share itong mga information na narinig ninyo sa inyong mga fellow nurses na kaibigan, family members, para po mas marami pa po makaunawa dito sa ating MOU po. So maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Conjen Zaldi. May I now request everybody to turn on your cameras for the customary group picture that we will have. May I call on my colleague, Vice Consul Stephanie Alexis Cruz, to please take the shots. Steph, please.
Yes, if everyone can again, as DCG requested, turn on your cameras, please, so we can take a photo of all your beautiful faces. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. Again. 1, 2, 3, smile. One more time, just for good luck. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you very much.
Salamat po. Mag-ingat po kayo. Magandang gabi po muli sa inyo. Magandang umaga at magandang hapon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.